Hello, everyone. Patriot Focus here, back on the Patriot Cast. I am here with last Pat's report. Um, we tried to get a podcast going on last Friday, and that didn't work. Maybe it was Thursday. I don't know. But yeah, this is his first time being on the show. Want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, I'm Last Pats Report. You can find me on Instagram and X. I started that page around week 6, so maybe last year. So not been here for too long, but I'm having fun.
Yeah. So
Mhm.
make sure to go give him a follow before anything else. And so Patriots make 11 moves during free agency. That's just for signing people, for signing new guys. So 7 of them are defensive, 4 of them are offensive. That kind of
Mhm.
surprises me.
Yeah,
By like, you know, defense. Those that was our struggle last year, but I feel like that was more based off coaching rather than players, because
yeah, for sure.
defense last year, we kind of expected top um top 15 defense in the league, and we ended up probably bottom 10, bottom 5. So I'd probably blame that one on coaching, and maybe a mix of injuries, players. But you got to adapt to those injuries, and we just couldn't do that last year. So that's why we have Vrabel in office with Terrell Williams, Josh McDaniels, and our whole new coaching staff. So defense will be looking great this year, um, based off what we have done so far. What are your thoughts on that 7 defensive and 4 offensive signings?
Yeah, definitely expected, and I think all Patriot fans did definitely expected more offensive moves during free agency. But I don't hate the going all out defense because you give a quarterback. I mean, we saw that with Tom Brady all those years. You get a lockdown defense, and you can make things happen. We just got to nail the draft and figure out what our O line is. Hopefully, we can make some trades, sign maybe Cam Robinson, maybe Tyron Smith, and go from there.
Yeah, yeah, and even if we're not able to sign, um, say we sign one more tackle, maybe it's a veteran, maybe it's a young guy that we have to develop a little bit more. Um, our offensive line really isn't, like, we're not. I wouldn't say we're screwed right now. Like
Mm-hmm.
we have some we have a veteran that just came in with Morgan Moses. I don't know how much that's gonna help, but
Yeah.
um, we've heard signs of Caden Wallace sounding like there might be some positivity there, after his injury last year, and that's kind of, we have Onwenu. We just got rid of Andrews, which is tough to see. Got Ben Brown back, but like, I wouldn't say we're out of it yet, but we really gotta step up the offensive line, like you just mentioned. Maybe bring in Cam Robinson. Maybe we go draft one, um, which would probably result to Will Campbell at 4. Maybe we trade
Yeah.
down. Who knows? But we're at free agency right now. So the first signing of the week, of the first signing of free agency, was Harold Landry,
Mhm. Yep.
on Sunday night, and it's kind of a late one where Harold Landry kind of started it off, and then it went to DK Metcalf trade, and then it went just X went crazy. So,
Yep.
what are your thoughts on that Harold Landry signing?
I liked it. Obviously, you got the familiarity there with Vrabel and Terrell Williams in Tennessee when they were there. And he's a phenomenal run stopper, like the best outside linebacker in the league at
Mm.
top of the run, along with Anthony Jennings, who we already have. So that duo should be pretty dominant together. And a lot of people don't like the signing just because he's not the best pass rusher, but I don't think that will be too much of a issue. He still had what 8 sacks or something on the year
Yeah,
last year,
yeah,
and I mean, you got Milton Williams, probably the best pass rushing interior in the entire league. So you're gonna generate pressure. Keon White did it all year last year. I don't really think we have anything to worry about there.
yeah. I mean, 28 years old. Age isn't something that we really need to be careful of right now at this point in his
Yeah.
career. Um, he was he's not as much of as a pass rusher as he used to be. He used to be really dominant when he was able to get to the quarterback. I guess while he's gotten older, he's
Hmm.
he's went a little further down with numbers on sacks and
Yeah.
um and pressures, but we haven't seen any. I don't think we've seen any like huge injuries out of him um in his career yet. So I'm not too worried about injuries or all that. I mean, he appeared in 17 games with Tennessee in 2024. He got 9 sacks and 71 tackles with 15 um, quarterback hits and 15 tackles for loss.
Yeah.
So, I mean, he worked with Vrabel. I think he worked with Terrell Williams at one point in Tennessee when he was there. He went to Boston College, so he's coming back to New England. So, I mean, I don't see why he wouldn't come here. I mean, it's just a perfect fit. So, um, I'd say I like that signing.
Yeah.
And then when we move down to our next signing, or maybe it wasn't our next signing, it was our next move. That Monday, we send Davon Godchaux to the Saints for a 2026 seventh round pick.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on this one?
So when it happened, I wasn't too enthusiastic about it just because he's one of the best run stopping D linemen in the league.
Hmm.
He's made that his staple. That's why he got a big contract extension last year. But then we went and signed Milton Williams. We brought in Kyrus Tonga and all that. So we got more depth that we were giving back. I wish we could have brought Equali back too, but
Me too.
overall, I'm okay with losing Godchaux, especially since we got a draft pick back.
Yeah, we were definitely paying him a
Hmm.
lot,
Yeah,
and he kind of took Judon away from us. I feel like because I feel like last free agency it's either me or Judon.
yeah,
Or no, not free agency. It was training camp.
yeah, yeah. I got
Um,
you.
it was either me or Judon. He was basically saying, and for some reason they chose him, which I guess maybe it was a good decision after looking back at
Yeah,
Judon's season with the Falcons. But he was always fun to watch. I mean, when he was healthy and when he when he came to play, he really came to play, and you could tell. But when he didn't, you could also tell. And a factor that we all can't forget is the defense or the not the defense, the yeah defensive coaching staff from last year.
yeah,
That's just something that is uncomparable to most
yeah,
teams in the league right now. So yeah, I hope he can go be pretty good there in the Saints, and grew up in Louisiana, so hopefully he can play pretty well there.
yeah.
And our next signing, I think it was a signing. It was I think yeah, our next move was it Spillane?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. So we signed former Raiders linebacker Robert Spillane, who he spent 2 seasons with the Raiders, one with Josh McDaniels. I don't know how much that matters, with him being the offensive coordinator, but maybe maybe he can run a little bit more than the offense, if he can even run the offense. So, 158 combined tackles, 2 sacks, and 7 pass deflections in 2024. Um, Second straight season that he had at least 100 tackles combined. And I just think this guy is relentless motor. He's always on the ball, and I think he was tied with third in combined tackles from last year. So if we can utilize him right, I know he worked with, yeah, I said he worked with McDaniels, but back in it might have been 2017, 2018, he was an undrafted free agent, and that's when Vrabel signed him with Tennessee. And I remember on his opening press conference, he was saying the first 4 days of training camp when he went, he was doing this run game drill, and he was just beating everyone. And that's kind of the reason why he was signed with Vrabel, and now he's back in New England with Vrabel. So, overall, I really like the signing, especially with, we don't know what's going to happen with linebacker with Jawan Bentley coming back from this injury. He's very similar play style with Spillane, maybe a little bit different positions. While Bentley will go towards the edge and rush a quarterback a little more, and maybe Spillane will do the pass a little bit more, but he still like does the run, I guess. You know what I mean.
Yeah.
But yeah, I hope he can play pretty well like he did in with the Raiders. So he does turn 30 in December. Maybe that's something that we have to look at, but I'm not too worried about his age. 3-year contract worth 33 million, so I'll take that. What are your
Yeah, you
thoughts?
see guys like Bobby Wagner still playing linebacker at a high level, and those are guys that are physically. It's a physically demanding position. They're able to
Yeah,
keep doing it late into their 30s. So I'm a big fan of the signing. I always like Spillane. I like every time I watch the Raiders. I mean, you see that dark visor; it always catches your eye. He's coming downfield and hitting people, and he's a great pass defender. He'll drop back in any zone. He had a couple interceptions last year, couple pass deflections. He's just all around good player. Had that familiarity with Vrabel and McDaniels. That's been the theme of the offseason, it feels like. But yeah, I really like the signing.
yeah, yeah. So next we move on to the big one. Former Eagles
Yeah.
defensive tackle Milton Williams, $26 million per year, and he's the highest paid Patriot. Beats Tom Brady with 25.4, maybe it's just 25, I don't know. But that really surprised me when I saw
Yeah.
that number. First thoughts, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean he's only 25. He just won a Super Bowl, so we get that experience in the roster in the locker room. And like I think the only non Vrabel or McDaniels connection signing. So it makes sense that they went out and gave him a lot of money, especially to take him away from the Panthers because you give him that money and he comes here, you know what he can do, and he's just a great pass rusher from the interior. He's dominant in the run game. He can literally do it all. You saw in his opening press conference. That's what he talked about. And Vrabel said he wanted to get him a lot of more snaps than he played in Philadelphia, and he said he's going to embrace that. He's ready to get in there for 3, 4 downs each drive, each possession, and get after the quarterback, stop the run, do everything that Vrabel and the coaching staff ask him to do, and you love to see that.
Yeah. There's
Mhm.
definitely some concerns when it comes to Milton Williams with his experience and injuries and how much did that Eagles D line help him
Yeah.
become the player he is and the money that he got. He's 6'3", 290. Mason Graham's 295. So
Yeah.
they're very similar players, and I think this signing kind of capped off the Mason Graham at forward
Yep.
talk. Do you think so?
I agree. Yeah,
Yeah,
completely.
because
They're
yeah, I
both
don't think we
same
can.
same type of player, same type of build. I don't think there's really any room to fit both of them in there.
No, me neither. Yeah, so that definitely takes Mason Graham to the Patriots off, most likely anyway. He only recorded 5 sacks, seven seven tackles for loss over 17 games. Um, I don't know. I don't want to say I'm a huge fan of it, but
Yeah.
I don't. I also don't want to say. I want to say I'm a huge fan of it, but I just don't think I am.
Yeah.
For how much we paid him, I do think he might be good. Um, and maybe we should have let him go to the Panthers. Part of me thinks that, but the other part of me thinks this guy he's like go go go. He's get to the quarterback. Like that's
Yeah.
what he does, and that's where the other side of me is like, no, this guy's good. This guy's a good football player, and he can get to the quarterback because we saw it. We saw it in the Super Bowl. He got to Mahomes pretty well past that Chiefs O line, and yeah, maybe he can. Maybe he can do that here in New England with no longer Davon Godchaux, but maybe Christian Barmore. We don't know if that's
Yeah.
gonna If he'll come back next year, we have no clue we have no clue what his situation is. I'm just worried that Jalen Carter and Jordan Davis and Josh Sweat, all those guys really helped could have really helped Milton Williams. And he in the 2024 season, he only logged 48% of the Eagles' defensive snaps. He didn't even break 50% of the snaps in any of his 4 seasons with Philadelphia, and now he's getting paid 26 mil per year for 4 years. I don't know.
Yeah.
Like maybe that doesn't matter, but he said it right in the press conference that
Yeah.
So I don't know. I'm not gonna say I hate the signing too. Like he's a good player. He has what it takes. We just don't know how long he has. Not how long, but stamina and
Yeah.
and all the other things that you have to take in accountability for his position. All right. So this kind of jumps in. No, Morgan Moses was our next signing, right?
Yep.
No, it was Carlton Davis.
That's right. Yeah.
I think. Yeah. So Patriots signed former Lions cornerback Carlton Davis. He got a 3-year, $60 million deal with $34.5 million guaranteed. My first thoughts on the signing, I was really happy. I kind of jumped out of my seat thinking, wow, Carlton Davis and Christian Gonzalez are now together, and this is going to be dangerous for most teams. And I mean, I kind of thought like Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, like they're not going to get past him, I don't think.
Yeah.
And like now this goes to Marcus Jones. Now he's cornerback 3, and we lost Jonathan, but I mean, I kind of wanted to lose him, especially after this signing. That kind of sealed it that we're getting rid of Jonathan Jones. And I also like that Terrell Williams and Carlton Davis do have a pretty good background together back in Detroit, and they both have Gonzo and Carlton Davis both have really good abilities to play man coverage, so that'll be interesting to watch. And honestly, I don't think there's a huge risk of this signing. He's proved himself with 7 seasons in the league, I think it is. He won a Super Bowl. Maybe one thing, he's never played a full regular season. I don't know. That's kind of something scary to look at, but I mean, 2024, week 15, he broken jaw. That's not something that reoccurring. We don't really see that. Like that's one time, not one time. I don't want to say one time, but like that happens and
Yeah.
it's over. So, but no, like, I don't think there's any ACL or anything concerning along injuries other than the fact that he hasn't played a full regular season within his 7 NFL seasons.
Yeah, that's the main thing that everybody talks about with that signing, how he hasn't played a full season. I don't view it as too much of an issue, especially if we're making playoff pushes and he'll be there for those. But yeah, we're gonna have a lockdown room. I mean, you got Gonzo, you got him, you got even Alex Austin back there, and Marcus Jones, who I really like. And a lot of people have said we overpaid for him, which I mean, you could argue that, but he's getting the same amount of money as Byron Murphy and Paulson Adebo and all the other corners that were on the market. So it was a pretty set market. So I'm okay with giving him the money that we did, and I think him and Gonzo are going to be great together for at least the next 3 years. So I'm excited.
Yeah, and say um we're allowed to overpay him with all
Yeah,
the cap that we have. So
for
like,
sure.
yeah, I'm okay with overpaying guys. I just want to overpay the right guys.
Yeah.
That's what I think, and so far we probably have. Like, I'm just worried about Milton Williams, but
Mhm.
I'm just worried about how much we paid him, but I
Yeah.
don't think I should be. I think we'll be all
I think
right.
with Milton Williams, um, his lack of production, like on the stat sheet, that comes because he only played what 48% of the snaps or whatever.
Yeah, yeah, that's
So
really bad.
obviously we're gonna see more production now with him playing more snaps. And then the argument with saying he played good because he had a better D line, I think there's validity in that, but also Keon White's gonna get pressure if we're double teaming Milton Williams, and if Christian Barmore's healthy, then you can't double team both of them. One of them's gonna get through. So I think we'll be okay, especially with our outside backers and Chase on and Landry that we just brought in, and I'm sure we'll draft an edge rusher in the draft. So I think we're gonna be okay along the D line, especially with Milton Williams if he can play to that level that we think he can.
Yeah, yeah, me too. And like Jawan Bentley, I already
Yeah.
mentioned his name once, but he'll be back. You mentioned Keon White, and Jaqueline Roy. Is he gone? I
I
forget.
think he's still here. I like him a lot.
I did too.
I really hope he's can stay healthy as well on the D line.
Me too. I like him a lot.
Yeah.
Um, and then Milton Williams. All right, that's gonna be a good D line.
Yeah.
Led by Terrell Williams too. That's gonna be fun to watch. We said that last season, but this season, I'm I'm realistic. Like the season's
Yeah.
actually gonna happen. But Patriots signed right tackle Morgan Moses on a 3-year deal. I think it was worth like a 3-year deal, 24 million up to 28.5 mil, which is kind of a lot for someone who's 34 years old. But he's not someone that we have to argue that they haven't proved themselves because he
Yeah.
has. I mean, he's probably entering his I don't know 10th season maybe,
Something like that.
like 12. I don't know, but maybe we should have looked at the younger guys, Dan Moore, who's only 26, who went to the Titans. Jalen Moore, who went to the Chiefs, who's only 27 too. But even if we sign one of them, there's still one of those questions whether our O line has enough experience and who's gonna lead the O line um, when they're on the field. And Morgan Moses is kind of the guy that I look at that will lead our O line when um, they are on the field. And we had David Andrews, so we had to replace that veteran. And I feel like this is a great signing when it comes to the short term for right now. And I know we're trying to, or I think that we're trying to to get a young O line, and kind of develop them together. But we kind of have to get a veteran like this to
Yeah.
do that. What are your thoughts on the
Yeah.
signing?
Yeah. I before free agency started, obviously we saw the Diana whatever leaked the Morgan Moses to the Patriots signing, but before that I had talked with a couple of people because I thought bringing him in would be a good idea. I just didn't think we would give him such a large and lengthy contract because he's 34 years old.
Yeah.
But I am okay with it. The veteran leadership. I mean, he's one of the best right tackles in the league last year, even at 34. So hopefully he can keep that level of play up and coach up Caden Wallace to be the future right tackle if possible. Because you saw Doug Marone had a lot of faith in him. So you like that. And then we brought in his other Jet teammate last year, the guard. Forgot his name, but I wouldn't be against going to get Tyron Smith as well,
Yep.
maybe on a 1 year deal. And for that left tackle spot, then we could have a lot of veteran leadership on that O line and hopefully have the people to coach up those tackle spots so we can solidify them for the future.
Yeah. I guess I'm not against Tyron Smith.
Yeah,
I just don't know. Yeah, definitely a 1-year contract. I don't know.
that's for sure.
Nothing longer than that. If he lasts 1 year, like he's someone who's getting old, who's gotten hurt probably
Yeah.
the last 5 of his NFL seasons,
Yeah.
with the Cowboys and the Jets, and we saw what he did to Fashanu. I mean, it wasn't
Hmm.
bad.
Hmm.
So maybe come in and do that to Caden Wallace and whoever we get for this draft, which is also something we have to take into consideration with this free agency stuff. Which maybe we can get into that later if we have enough time. But yeah, I'm as far as Morgan Moses, um, I'll take that veteran. Maybe
Yeah.
we wanted Ronnie Staley. I would have loved him, but I never found that realistic. Did you?
No, I did not. And then when he signed that contract a couple days before, I mean, I expected him to resign at some point. I didn't expect a franchise tag because they wouldn't do that to a veteran like that.
Mm-mm.
But I did expect him to resign there, and then he did. And then going into free agency, I really wanted us to target Jalen Moore, who did end up going to Kansas City. But yeah, so now with all the young guys gone, I mean, you could argue Cam Robinson's young-ish, um, but really, I think the best bet is going to get Tyron Smith for a 1 year stopgap, and then maybe targeting like Caden Proctor or something in the 2026 draft, one of the top left tackles in
Yeah,
next year's draft.
yeah, I'm not against that. For as of right now though, um, yeah, I don't know. It's tough because you could
Yeah.
say go get Campbell, and just do it, but at
Hmm.
the same time, you say what if Abdul Carter's there? What if Travis Hunter's there? What if
Yeah.
like it's a bunch of what ifs. That's what's fun about this draft is we have no clue who's gonna be there. Like
Yeah. It's a weird draft class for sure.
yeah, it could be like at this point, Cam Ward's probably going one, and
Yeah, that's the consensus right now.
yeah, unless they trade, but which
Yeah.
he's still go one anyway. Um, so Patriots signed former Cardinals defensive tackle Kyrus Tonga on a 1 year deal. Um, what are your first thoughts on this signing?
I had no idea who that was. I don't know if you remember in the group chat or whatever. A couple of
Yeah,
us said, "Who the heck is this guy?" But watching Taylor Kyles post a bunch of all 22 film and stuff on him just on X. So I watched all that just to see who we were getting, and I really like it because it's just a massive guy that just sits in the middle and eats up blockers. And he's just great against the run, just a true nose tackle. And we got him really cheap. It's a great depth piece, so I'm a fan of it. Yeah,
yeah, definitely. And yeah, like you said, I think he's like 325. He's
yeah,
huge, and he'll be fun to replace or not. I don't want to say replace, but he'll be fun to put in fill in his the shoes of Davon Godchaux
yeah,
and maybe even Christian Barmore, similar size. And we don't like I said, we don't know what's the deal with Barmore. So I guess we'll have to it's a waiting game and front office knows more than us as far as Barmore, and I'm sure they've talked to him about it as of like this far in free agency. Cause well, maybe they did and things didn't go well, and that's why they put $26 million on
yeah,
Milton Williams, and then they brought Tonga in. But um, I hope Jaquelin Roy can come step it up
yeah,
this year. I'm really
yeah.
excited to watch him. I think he can. He has it in him, and yeah. So um, what was our next signing? It was probably Mac Hollins, right?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. So he's definitely not the high end guy that we wanted, like Godwin
Mm.
or Diggs or Cooper, which those guys, Cooper and Diggs, are still in there. But like Higgins, Godwin, definitely not one of those guys that we were hoping for. But I'm okay with Mac Hollins. I mean, looks like he just comes and goes with teams. With he went to the Falcons, and then he went to Las Vegas, then he went to the Bills. I don't know where he was there before, but I know he's been to 5 teams in the past 5 years, including the Patriots.
Yeah.
So, um, he's had his best season with McDaniels back in 2022 with Vegas, with 57 catches for 690 yards and 4 touchdowns. But with McDaniels returning to New England, um, and there's this full receiver room, we have no clue what's gonna happen. He could either make the final roster or he could get cut before training camp. I can sense a James Robinson signing when we signed James
Yeah.
Robinson
Yeah.
back in like 2020, and we never saw him on the field. But I can also see someone like Kayshon Boutte who's there when we need him, and with McDaniel's experience with him, which is something we've seen in all the Patriots signings, is a reason to sign him with experience with our coaching staff or something like that. But I like this. I like the signing. Good leader. Him and Kendrick Bourne will be fun to watch too.
Yeah. Yeah, I like it too. You talked about how he's a good leader. He talked about how he likes to coach the younger guys on the team during his press conference. And he also mentioned how his best season was with Josh McDaniels, almost 700 yards. And you also did mention Kayshon Boutte. I think there will be a little bit of overlap there with the style of players they are. So I'm curious to see how that works out. But worst case scenario, there's a chance he gets cut. I don't think he will, unless
Mm,
say Jalen Polk or Javon Baker really just shoot up in development, which I don't know if that'll happen.
yeah.
Um, but Matt Collins, I mean, he can be your X receiver. He can be the guy that you just got to throw it up to every once in a while when you need it. And that was one of the things Vrabel talked about when he first got here, getting Drake May, a big guy with that can just catch anything in his vicinity. And that's what Matt Collins is. He's 6'4". He's got long arms and big hands, and that's always been his thing, just going deep and having the quarterback launch it to him. So I'm okay with the sign, and I think he's going to fit in well with the scheme, and I hope he does good.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm kind of there with you there. And unless we go get 2 receivers like we did last draft with so we get T Mac and I don't know it could be anyone like
Yeah,
T Mac or Jack Batch
yeah,
Beck. I don't know how to say his name, but
Besh.
Besh. Yeah. If so we go get him or it could be there's so many receivers in this draft.
Yeah,
So
that's a really
but
deep class.
could we get him? We'll figure it out with receiver when it comes
Yeah,
to training camp and all that because it's the Patriots and anything can happen within the
yeah,
next 4 months, 5 months. But our next signing, it was Marcus. No, it was Clavon Chasen, and he's one of those guys. I'm gonna be honest. I didn't really know a whole lot about him when we signed him, and I still like getting to know him a little bit.
yeah,
He was a first round pick for the Jaguars back in 2020. He's coming off a season with 5 sacks, which is a career high for him. He'll be with Harold Landry on the other side, I believe. And then Keon White and Juwan Bentley. Those guys have been mentioned a lot today. But what are your thoughts on this?
yeah. So I like the signing just because he's more of a pure pass rusher and he's a speed guy. So what we've got now with like Landry and Anthony Jennings as outside linebackers are mainly run stoppers and power guys. So I like the Chase on signing because he's bendy and he's uh, quick and he's got that familiarity with. No, he doesn't. Never mind. But former first round pick, he's got a lot of potential. Hopefully, Vrabel can maybe unlock that a little bit because he's still young. So I'm excited to see what he can do.
Yeah, me too. And I don't really know a whole lot about him, but I heard Speed Rusher from you, and
Yeah.
that sounds nice. That's good enough for me. So, um, our next signing, we signed former Raiders safety Marcus Epps to a 1-year, $4.4 million deal. Thoughts on this?
This one was a little out of the blue, I thought. Because I did think, obviously, we talked about Javon Holland a lot as a possible Patriot.
Yeah.
And, but after that, it was like kind of the consensus that we didn't need a safety unless it was going to be that high end guy. But I like Epps a lot. He's a good free safety. He really good ball hawk when he's healthy. Obviously, he was hurt all year last year, so that's why he got such a small deal. But I also am curious to see what it means for maybe Kyle Duggar or Jabril Peppers if we trade or cut one of those guys, just because we have so many safeties. Because we brought in Epps and we brought back Hawkins and we've got Del Pettis who played really good last year as a rookie. So I'm just curious to see what the safety room looks like come week one.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. And this is something where like, could it be Duggar that gets cut? Could it be Jabril Peppers, which I have no clue what his deal is.
Yeah,
Um, which I'm not gonna lie, I hope it's Duggar.
I
I
agree.
I, I don't want to say that with all the experience that he has with New England, but I just couldn't watch another game with him. Like penalty after penalty after missed tackle
Yeah,
after missed tackle after a blown coverage, and it's just it doesn't stop with him. And
yeah,
I was just like, I don't like this anymore. Like I like Peppers in when he's innocent, and I think he was. So
yeah.
hopefully he can come in and play pretty good next year. With Marcus Epps, who is coming off a torn ACL that ended his 2024 season in week 4, I think it was.
Yeah,
Um, and I don't think he didn't play with McDaniels, did he?
I don't think so. I think he was with the Eagles at that time.
All right, yeah. So, um, he did not play with McDaniels. And there's just not a really low risk, or there's not a really
Yeah.
high risk on this. Like, um, we didn't pay him a ton. I don't think we paid him a ton, and
Mhm.
maybe his torn ACL is a little bit of a risk, but I'm not too worried about it. So hopefully put some that'll tense up the safety room a little bit, and
Yeah.
we'll have to find out what happens there. But
Mhm.
I think we only have a few more to go with signings.
Yeah.
Who? Wes Schweitzer.
Yeah.
Um, so I saw this one and I kind of just put my phone away after that. I wasn't
Yeah.
huge into it. And I don't think there's a lot to say about it. I know he's 31, I think it is, and
Mhm.
he he'll probably be fighting for a roster spot. He has some experience, but I don't know if it's great experience. He's played in 90 games, 62 starts. He can play both center and guard, which is probably going to be the thing that does keep him in there if he is in there. He was It was only 10 games that he was limited to with just 2 starts over the last 2 seasons with injuries. So that's something to look at. And I don't understand what Elliot Wolf or whoever said I'm gonna sign you was thinking. Like maybe it's there's more to it than I know, but like what I saw and what I read, I don't know why we did this.
Yeah, it was definitely an out of the blue signing. Nothing that really caught you off guard. It's not like anything crazy or anything. I
Yeah.
think just the fact that he was on the Jets O line last year. There's somebody on the staff. I couldn't tell you who that's got that connection there.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Yeah, but I mean, he's a guy. He had a solid career in Washington. He mentioned the past few years he's been hurt a lot, so that's obviously limited him there. But hopefully he can make some things happen, make the roster, maybe even get a starting job. I mean, I doubt it, but hopefully he can get back to that form he had in Washington all those years.
Hopefully. Um yeah, so and then I think Oh no, I missed one from Thursday, I think it was, or Wednesday. Josh Dobbs, we signed him to I think it was 1 year, eight. I know it was 8 million.
Two
And it
year,
was what was it?
2 year.
2 year. All right,
Yeah.
so 2 year, $8 million deal, and I'm like, all right. So the only thing that this tells me is Joe Milton is definitely. I know we've gotten some reports from some um some non-trustworthy
Yeah.
guys saying that he's gonna get traded. He got traded and all that, but I think he's gonna get traded. I mean, I heard
Thank
a
you.
third round asking price for him. Josh Dobbs, that signing kind of says he's getting traded. Like that's all I got from it, and maybe there's more to it. Maybe there's some. He probably played Josh McDaniels at some point in his career with all the 17 teams he's played for, but yeah, I just don't think there's much to think about in this signing other than the Joe Milton um, trade factor. What do you think?
Yeah. So obviously we let Brissett walk, so I think that's a little bit of factor, just getting a veteran backup in the room. And I think with Joe Milton, I think he should get traded this offseason 100%. I mean, his value's not going to go up sitting on the bench.
No.
It's at an all-time high right now. I mean, he's the youngest he's going to be. He's not getting any younger. There's not a good quarterback class in the draft, so people are going to be more um, looking to trade for one. And with the asking price of a third round pick, I think that's just a baseline. Like, I'm sure they'll take a fourth, and I think that will be the eventual price that they land on if he does get traded. Um, but yeah, the Josh Dobbs signing, I think really it's just a veteran backup in the room and somebody that can run the offense and has a similar style to a guy like Drake May.
Yeah, definitely. And I was kind of hoping for um, I, I don't even know what I was hoping for, to be honest. Like I was hoping for a Joe Milton trade earlier before free agency where we where quarterbacks didn't move, but not many quarterbacks moved. So
Yeah,
maybe it was a benefit to keep him and deal him in the draft or do something like that. Because once the Giants finally realize that they can't get Ward or Sanders, then that's when they're gonna start freaking out and like thinking that they need to do something with their quarterback room because they only have Tommy DeVito right now, and if I'm the Giants, I don't want Tommy DeVito as my only quarterback. So um, they're gonna have to figure out that they have to take action soon with quarterback, and with them hosting Russell Wilson this week, I think it was.
yeah,
Maybe we'll see a Russell Wilson signing or a Joe Milton trade, but um, that's all with signings. And there were some other things that we saw this week, which was a couple guys getting released. So sensitive topic to some guys with the veterans and stuff. But so our first guy that, or I don't know if it was the first, but one guy that we released was, or maybe not released, but got rid of David Andrews,
yeah,
center. He's 32 or 31. He's starting to lose it at the end of his career, or at the end of his time with New England, and Vrabel never really played with him, so there's no sentiment. There's no sentimental value with him. Um, Elliot Wolf is, he just listens to Vrabel is what I'm hearing.
yeah.
So it sucks to see Andrews go with the leader and how he was, but it's part of the business, I guess, and it's what they had to do. So Vrabel, they got rid of Andrews, and that leaves us with Ben Brown at center. As of right now, I guess Ben Brown, Schweitzer. I guess I've heard that he can play center and guard.
Yeah.
Who else can center? That's
So
kind of it, right?
strange.
Oh, Strange. That's right. Yeah, Strange. Which maybe
And I
he'll.
guess you can throw in Jake Andrews too, but I
Yeah,
don't know. I use
that's an interesting.
yeah,
But yeah. So We released David Andrews. Dietrich Wise goes to the Commanders along with Jonathan Jones. This was surprising, but at the same time, I'm like, well, you kind of expected it. I just didn't want to see
Yeah.
it because he was another guy who was a great leader, brought great energy to the team. And yeah, I mean, what do you think of this?
Yeah, so Dietrich Wise and Jonathan Jones, I wanted Dietrich Wise to stay just for that presence
Mm-hmm.
in the locker room, and he's a guy that gets after the quarterback a good bit. But Jonathan Jones, I wasn't so high on. I was okay with letting him walk.
Oh, me too.
But I am glad they went to a team that's going to be contending for championships, and I think that'll be really good for that locker room to have those veteran guys that have won Super Bowls, and they're addressing positions that they need and will be pretty impactful over there, I would think. And then with David Andrews, my first thought when we released him, just due to the injuries and stuff, I figured he failed a physical or
Physical? Yeah,
something,
that's what I
and
heard too.
that report did come out. That's what happened. So that didn't really surprise me for that aspect. But
Mm-hmm.
it does suck to lose that veteran leadership. But obviously, bringing in Moses and Schweitzer and all that, so we're gaining that back a little bit. Might not be the same as in that Patriot way or whatever, but
Mm-hmm.
it's more leadership in the room.
Yeah, definitely. And we lost more leadership, and that's kind of what happens with free
Mhm.
agency. Is the older guys go, older guys come in, and sometimes we'll see newer guys go, newer guys come in. But Jacoby Brissett, I guess you can call him new and old. He
Yeah.
signed with the Cardinals. This is kind of something that I kind of expected. I mean, I don't see why he would have stayed with us, and I don't see why we would have kept him. Um, and I am fine with this. What do you think?
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. Fully expected him to leave. He made it clear he wants to go somewhere where he can compete for the job, which is also kind of why I don't understand why he went to Arizona, because I don't think they're going to be trying to replace Kyler Murray at all.
No.
I guess you can look at Kyler Murray's had injuries over the years, so maybe Jacoby can get his chance there. But yeah, just not the place I expected him to go, but I did expect him to leave, and I'm completely fine with that.
Yep, me too. Um, when we signed him back last year, I was like, oh, we signed Jacoby
Mhm.
Brissett. That's
Yeah.
fine. And I didn't think much of it at the time. I was like, well, like, yeah, I just didn't think much of it until
Yeah.
he became our starter, and I was like, why? Like, I am so glad Mayo's out. Um, and then we lose. Obviously, we talked about Godchaux,
Yeah.
traded the Saints, and we lose another defensive tackle, Daniel Okwale, who signed with the Steelers. This was I didn't want to see him go. I wanted to see him get re-signed because him and Jaquelin Roy, those are my two guys, defensive tackle that I kind of liked last season, and I liked
Yeah.
watching a lot. So, um, I definitely didn't want to see him go. But I guess he'll go to Steelers and probably do better than he was here because we were a mess last year.
Yeah. Glad to see him go to a spot that has or like needs a defensive tackle, because that's with all the Steelers fans I've talked to, that and say like cornerback and stuff. Those have been some of their much needed spots. So he's gonna get more reps, more of a spotlight, because he's been so underrated the past few years.
Definitely.
Um, Definitely sucks to see him go, but I'm glad that he did go to a situation that is gonna be good for him.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. And um he was good for us, but as a general manager standpoint, um he didn't put up the numbers and
Mhm.
he didn't really make a huge change for us, and we were missing tackles almost every game, and that was a huge subject to talk about almost every game, which is probably why we're getting these run guys these run stoppers that are stopping the run, because we have Gonzo on one side, we have Carlton Dave, or at the time it was just Gonzo, Marcus Jones, Jonathan Jones. That's a great cornerback Alex Austin. I can't forget about him.
Yeah.
And then those guys at safety that can help with coverage. Jabril Peppers, Jalen Hawkins. I'm gonna leave Duggar out of this for a reason, but um, they definitely saw that like we're struggling with tackles, and there we go. Signed Spillane, we signed Harold Landry, we signed Milton Williams, we signed all these guys that can tackle and have the ability to um, make almost every tackle that they have the opportunities to. So we definitely didn't do that last year because we
Yeah.
had Stinky Mayo in office. But now I like this Vrabel way and how he's responding to this situation here in New England. We lost some guys, got some guys in, and we got some guys returned. So one of them was tight end Austin Hooper, who came in last year. He had a solid year in 2024, 45 catches, 476 yards, and three touchdowns. Him and Hunter Henry ranked top 6 among tight end duos in receptions, 113 receptions and 1,170 yards. I wonder who was ahead of him. Probably I don't really know.
Yeah, I don't know.
But him and Drake May, they looked pretty good together. And Hooper and Vrabel, I know they worked together.
Yep.
And so did McDaniels and Vrabel, and so did McDaniels and Hooper. So, he's meant to be here, and I like him here. He was one of the guys that I wanted them to re-sign this offseason. He was one of the couple guys that I wanted to re-sign. And one of them, the next guy I'm going to talk about, is Jalen Hawkins, safety. I was just high hopes on him.
Yeah.
Thoughts on Hawkins?
Yeah, I thought he was good last year. Obviously, Peppers was out most of the year with the legal issues, and Duggar was hurt for a good little portion of that. So we got to see a lot of Hawkins and Pettis, and I thought they both played pretty well for the most part. So I'm very okay with bringing Hawkins back, and same with Hooper.
Yeah,
But yeah, a lot of really good guys that were bringing back good depth pieces, and I think that's really important, especially when you're trying to have a top defense in the league.
yeah, definitely. Um, Jeremiah Farms. He's not. I forgot about him. Um, he played 16 games last season. 46% of the snaps, defensive snaps. Oh, what? That's only 2% less than Milton Williams. He's
Yeah.
26 a year. But um, he was there when we needed him, I guess. He kind of reminds me of Kayshon Boutte when it comes to the defensive side of the ball. And yeah, I mean, good signing. Nothing huge to talk about there.
Yeah, I mean he's been on the roster a couple years. I mean, a solid depth piece. You said 46% of the snaps. He's not playing nothing crazy. He's
No,
just
yeah.
out there when you need him. So I'm
Mhm.
okay with the re-sign
Yeah. Um, and then Demontre
him.
Jacobs, we re-signed him, and that's another situation where I wonder what is Elliot Wolf doing in office right now, because Demontre Jacobs is just terrible,
Yeah.
and like I can't with him anymore. Like I what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I might be mistaken about this, but I'm pretty sure he graded out as the worst offensive tackle in all of football last year.
I
So
believe it.
I don't understand the re-signing. I really don't like it. I understand that it's not even $1 million or whatever that we gave him, but I just did not want to see him back on this team. That was the one player that, like, if I could pick anybody else, I would want him gone.
I'd probably say the same thing. Like if I could pick any player on our team, it'd be him.
Yeah.
Him and Lowe. Lowe would be
Yeah.
second, I think. Um, but Unfortunately, we see him back, and Ben Brown. We talked about him earlier. He joins. He joined us mid-season last year, and he probably had 4 practices that week. Maybe no, 3 practices that week, and he started that game and played great. I'm a huge fan of Ben Brown. Who got he got a lot of training from David Andrews that those couple practices, and I'm sure all the practices, but I know all those 4 practices. David Andrews, him would just be there, just training together, all practice, and that's what I've heard anyway. And he was always just brought great energy, fun to watch, and someone who maybe messed up a few times with snapping the ball and missing some blocking assignments, but young guy, someone that you can maybe develop a little bit more to become better than Jake Andrews, better than Cole Strange when it comes to the center position. I don't know. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I like Ben Brown a lot. I mean, you mentioned he came in mid-season and just with a couple practices got in there and just played great football.
Yeah.
I know he had like one of the least amount of pressures led up by every center in the league, so he was really good while he was out there and replacing David Andrews. But then Cole Strange comes back from injury and he goes out there and he does great too. So I'm interested to see what that looks like for next season.
Yeah, definitely. Um, that's it for signings and departures and all that stuff. But with all the free agency moves that we saw this free agency for the past week and a half on free agency, even week. Uh, what do you think this does for the first round for the draft for us?
You mentioned we talked about Mason Graham earlier. I think he's out of the question.
Yeah.
But for at least the first pick, the fourth overall pick, I think really it's Travis Hunter, it's Abdul Carter, and you can throw in Will Campbell. I don't like Will Campbell. He's
Mm-mm.
got short arms, which that would be okay, but he has the shortest wingspan ever recorded for an offensive tackle at the combine, and I just that's insane to me.
Yeah,
So
definitely.
I'm not in on Will Campbell. Um, you can throw out like Tedero McMillan and other names like that. Like there's a bunch of other good players that we can target up there, but really for me it's Travis Hunter and it's Abdul Carter. If you don't get one of those guys, maybe trade back, but and then it's best player available if you ask me.
Yeah, and that's kind of a good situation to be in. Like best player available except a quarterback. That's kind of not what you want.
Yeah.
Everyone wants to be the Chiefs now, and just you don't really care about the draft. But um, no, I'm not gonna say that. Not care about the draft, but
Yeah.
best player available is kind of what I'm thinking. After free agency, I'm gonna eliminate defensive tackle. I want to eliminate all defense because we got the linebackers depth, we got the defensive tackle depth, we got a cornerback who covers most depth. We re-signed some safety. We re-signed a safety, Jalen Hawkins, and yeah, I mean, I at this point it's Travis Hunter for me.
Yeah.
It's Travis Hunter. It is Tara McMillan or trade back, I guess. Like I don't know. I don't know what else to say. Like it's tough because like we mentioned earlier, it's one of those drafts where we don't know what's gonna happen with the first 10
Yeah.
picks. And that's this, I feel like this is what the Cardinals situation was last year.
Yeah, for sure.
Except I feel like we're a little more crammed than they were. Um, but um, for free agency, there's still some guys left. So in the next few weeks, what do you think? What do you want the Patriots to do?
So Tyron Smith is the guy I talked about earlier. Him
Yeah,
and Cam Robinson, um, just guys on that left tackle spot. that are an instant upgrade in the team. I think
Hmm.
Tyron Smith is the one I really want to target, just for a 1 year deal, and then maybe draft one in the second or third,
Yeah.
and and then if that doesn't work out, you target one next year in the first round when there's going to be actual proper left tackle talents at
Yeah.
the top. And then with receiver, I like so Stephon Diggs is obviously the big one, but I just don't think there's any chance he'll come to New England. I think he's trying to win championships, and we're not gonna really offer him that for at least this next year.
Yeah.
Um, but Keenan Allen's my guy in free agency that's left
Hmm.
as a receiver. I like Keenan Allen a lot. He's a great route runner. He's still really good. He was the second option on that Bears team last year and had 700 something yards, and he's able to stay healthy most of the time. So I'm in on Keenan Allen. So that those will be my two to go after: Keenan Allen and Tyron Smith.
That's fair. Yeah. Um,
Hmm.
definitely some older guys, but
Yeah.
I mean, you need older guys to develop newer guys. So,
Yep.
um, that makes sense. Keenan Allen, I he I like how he can find the end zone. He just worked with a rookie quarterback last year. He can still get open for someone his age. What is he? 33, 32,
32, I believe.
32. Yeah. So I mean, he still has it in him, but he I don't know. I'll take him. I won't be mad over him. I'll actually probably be happy over it. But when I think of what is available right now, first I'd probably go for Amari Cooper.
Hmm.
With he's probably the youngest out of the good receivers. Stephon Diggs maybe same age, maybe a little bit older, but yeah, they're all old receivers. But Amari
Yeah.
Cooper, he'd be fun to watch in New England with Drake May. Um, one more defensive guy I'd choose. I know I'll also go offensive. Probably go Cam Robinson. I don't know how you can't. Like, he's someone who he protected Trevor Lawrence when he was first there. He left. Trevor Lawrence was down every single play, and
Yeah.
that's kind of what I was looking at when I looked at
Mhm.
him. Is he's the big guy in the offensive line? So I guess we could say Onwenu is the big guy in our O line, but he's not the he wouldn't be the big guy in most O lines. So um yeah, Cam Robinson is probably what I'd say, and then Amari Cooper for priority one and
Yeah.
two. Um, and yeah, that's probably it for what I have today. Any other comments or free agency comments or predictions for these next couple weeks?
One more free agent piece that everybody's been talking about the Patriots have an interest in is Jack Gibbons, the
Yep,
linebacker from Tennessee,
yep,
just because of that Vrabel connection and everything, which is, the common theme of the offseason. And that is also another guy that I would like to target,
definitely.
because you get him really cheap, and it also it loads that linebacker room up. Maybe you cut Tavai and get him his attitude and stuff and the money out of the locker room, so I would be okay with that. So targeting
Me
Jack
too.
Gibbons, that's just another thing to throw in. And then also, I think Christian Ellis visited the Raiders today. So
I
if
saw
he
that.
were, yeah, so if he were to get offered a contract, we would have to match that, and I'm not sure if we will. So Jack Gibbons could be another security blanket right there.
Hmm. Yeah, he was everywhere last year. He was getting
Yeah,
tackle after tackle, and um um you said Jack Gibbons. Yeah, that's I can see that happening. That's kind of one of those things that's just bound. It fits.
yeah,
It's meant to happen. I'm sure he worked with Terrell Williams at one point.
yeah.
How old is he? Is he young? Oh, I lost him. Oh, there you go. I can't hear you. It's fine. Anyway, yeah, I think he's fairly young, so maybe he hasn't worked with Terrell Williams yet in his career, but who knows? If he comes to New England, maybe he will. Um, anything yet? Nope. Anyway. So Jack Gibbons, not a bad one that you said, but that's a sign that maybe it's time for dinner. And
Oh
oh, you're up. All right, never mind.
yeah.
I was gonna make up an excuse to go. Anyway, yeah. So Gibbons, great opportunity for us to go in and get
Yeah.
another linebacker for great depth. Um, Ellis, he might leave. You mentioned that. Very true. I don't want him to leave though.
No.
But wide receivers, um, with the wide receivers we have now, and the wide receivers that we could get, do you want to predict the top 6 for next year? It's really tough, I know, but I was thinking about this earlier, and I was like, I got to put this in there.
Yeah. So I did a post, I think 2 days ago, maybe yesterday, of revamping the receiver room. So I think I'm just going to go off that.
Yeah, yeah,
And
do
so
it.
that would be taking Travis Hunter, fourth overall,
Okay,
signing Keenan Allen. Then you
okay.
got Pop Douglas, Matt Collins,
Mm-hmm.
Kayshawn Booty, and then Jalen Polk and Javon Baker. Just whoever is there. Probably cut Kendrick Bourne.
Really? All right, yeah. Um, I don't want to see him go, but
Yeah.
realistic, we probably will. Um, I would say we're gonna go Matt Collins. We're gonna go Pop Douglas. We're gonna go Kayshawn. Um, we're gonna go Jalen Polk, Javon Baker, and I'm gonna say I want to say Savion Williams from TCU. I've been huge on him
Yeah.
all pre-draft. So I'm hoping we get him. But once we get closer to the draft, we'll have to do more draft podcasts and
Yeah, for sure.
mock drafts. We'll definitely do that. But free agency is still we're still in the midst of free agency, and it'll be interesting for these next few weeks. What happens with trades? Who gets number one overall pick? Even with the Patriots, can Joe Milton get traded in these next few weeks? I
Yeah.
guess we'll find out. So we'll definitely have to do this again. Everyone make sure to go follow Last Patch Report on Instagram and Patriot Focus on Instagram. But yeah, thanks for coming on. This is a fun one.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me.
No problem. We'll have to do it again.
Yep.
All right. Thanks for everyone for watching, and hopefully we'll catch you in the next one. See ya.